innovation could help unlock a multi-billion-pound bonus for Scotland's economy. That's the prediction in a report published this morning by the charity Nesta. Speaking earlier on the programme, the report's author, Stian Westlake, explained how he'd reached his conclusion.
We looked at the economic performance of some of the most innovative smaller countries in the world. Places like Finland, Estonia, Singapore, the Basque Country in Spain and Israel. And we looked at how their economies had performed in the past few years compared to smaller countries that didn't do so well at innovation. And if we applied those figures to Scotland over the next 5 years, if Scotland were as good at innovating and making money out of its good ideas as those innovative countries were, Scottish economy would grow by £12 billion a year in 5 years' time.
Well, the report makes it clear that Scotland could reap those benefits regardless of the outcome of September's referendum, but inevitably it stirred the debate, with many arguing innovation and independence might be more natural bedfellows. Well, let's speak to Gordon MacIntyre-Kemp, who's Chief Executive of Business for Scotland, and Daniel Johnson from the Business Together organisation. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. Good morning.
Gordon MacIntyre-Kemp, first of all, the point here is about our ability to transform these good ideas into money-making ideas, and the point that this report seems to be suggesting is that that needs to change whatever the outcome of the referendum.
Well, absolutely, but one of the key conclusions in this actual report is that one of the things that's driven the success of these small nations is a sense of national mission. And I think that's exactly what independence is all about. It's about having the economic levers controlled by Scotland in order to focus on the needs of Scotland, so bespoke solutions for Scotland's economy. And 12 billion a year over 5 years just goes to show the huge opportunity that an independent Scotland would have if we got it right.
But this isn't just about government, according to the report's authors, although government has a role to play here. It is about the innovation of business people, ultimately. And what difference would independence make to that particular field?
Well, again, going back to that sense of national mission, mixing SMEs with research and having the right government policies, the report says that innovation goes right through government, right to the heart of government. And I think what's happened in the UK is we've had a deindustrialisation as the UK has focused its economic policies on the sort of service and finance industries, the very highly volatile finance sector. We've deindustrialised, especially in the west coast of Scotland, and that's taken a lot of businesses and a lot of investment that might have gone into research from businesses out. And I think what we have to do is reindustrialise Scotland, have a policy that's focused on the needs of Scotland, not on the needs of London and the South East, to reindustrialise Scotland and get companies partnering with universities into applicable and commercial research, and that's what will drive our economy forward after independence.
Well, Daniel Johnson from Business Together, ultimately the point seems to be that independence would bring about a boost in confidence that would allow for this innovation to take place.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to shock you both, and uncharacteristically in this debate, I'm going to agree with Gordon. I think Gordon's absolutely spot on, saying that what we need is a sense of national mission. But I think where I disagree is that it's sort of when going into the detail of the report, is really what it's talking about is about relationships. It's about how government works with business. And those are things that we can do right now. And what's more, there's actually a lot of signs that Scotland's already quite good at these things. Of the spin-outs that occur from academia in the UK, about a quarter of them are taking place in Scotland, and I think that's fantastic, and I think that's something that we should build on rather than knocking and saying that we need to sort of rip it up and start again.
But the point that Gordon MacIntyre-Kemp makes is that there's been a deindustrialisation in certain parts of Scotland, and he would point to the Westminster government as having a role in that.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree. I mean, I think deindustrialisation has been a big problem for Scotland. I think that the economic policies pursued 30 years ago were deeply damaging to Scottish industry. But and again, at the risk of shocking you both, I think some of the things which are being talked about are right. I think a development bank for Scotland is the right thing. I think an innovation agency is the right thing. But those are things that we can do now. We don't have to wait for independence. I think we should get on with it.
And one of the other issues, though, that has come out, Gordon MacIntyre-Kemp, from some academics when we talk about independence is concern about losing current UK-wide funding for R&D. How do you address those concerns?
Well, the plan under independence is actually to maintain a common research area, and the head of the UK Research Council's UK body, Professor Paul Boyle, actually said in evidence to the Scottish Parliament he wanted a continuation of because the benefits were mutual. Now, in Scotland, we have 5 universities in the top 200 in the world. So really what is required right across the whole of the UK is to make sure that the partnerships that exist between Scottish universities and the rest of these universities and the rest of the UK work. But the key threat to funding is actually the in-out of the EU referendum we're likely to have after the next UK general election if Scotland were to vote no. For instance, the Horizon 2020 is a gigantic source of funding that takes, just to the point you were making there, Gary, it takes SMEs to work in partnership with universities to actually draw that down. It also helps if you have universities working together from different countries, and that would actually just happen naturally, that English and Welsh universities, Irish universities and Northern Irish universities, etc., would work with Scottish universities.
Well, let me bring in Daniel Johnson. Is that another point of agreement for you, Daniel?
I mean, I think absolutely. Scotland's universities do fantastically well, and just as an illustrative point, the research funding that Edinburgh University manages to attract is worth more than all the research funding that the whole of Wales attracts right now. So, I think that
just shows the size of the opportunity, doesn't it?
It shows the size of the opportunity, but it also shows the size of the risk. I mean, I think these things, in many senses, for Scottish universities and for Scottish innovations, are going well, and the things that we need to put right, I don't think are actually affected by independence. These are essentially what this report is saying is that we need to get things right at the micro level, not the macro level, right? And I think actually that change in focus and pitch is absolutely right, but it's not really where the current independence proposals are focused.
Okay, well, just very briefly, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, Dan agreed with me that in the past the UK government has had a poor track record in terms of deindustrialisation, etc. We have across the EU 3% of GDP is the average of the fast-growing economies, Germany, etc., spent on R&D. In the UK it's 1.75, in Scotland it's 1.25. That is an incomprehensibly poor figure when you consider the strength of our research base, and only independence gives us the powers to really focus on the policies that will open that up.
And if I could just come in on that, I mean, and if you look at what allows Germany to do that, it's things like their regional investment banks, which we are perfectly capable of doing under devolution.
Okay, well, gentlemen, we'll leave things there. Thank you very much. Daniel Johnson from Business Together, Gordon MacIntyre-Kemp from Business for Scotland.